or two lines. Please, guys, understand with us. Let me quickly do this. Then Mr. Asue will now tell us more about himself. Thank you very much. As you can see right there on the screen, let me quickly bear with me, guys, because I need to zoom it here. Okay, as you can see there, Asue Ighodalo is the co-founder of Bawo and Ighodalo, one of the foremost corporate and commercial law firms in Nigeria, with 15 partners and over 100 lawyers. He obtained his first degree in economics from the University of Ibadan, a law degree from the London School of Economics and Political Science, and was admitted into the Nigerian bar in July 1985. So I'm just going to leave that one right there. 1985. Some of us now, baby, will still be that time. You know, thank you very much, sir. I just wanted to put that in. Please, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Thank you, Elvis. Thank you very much again. Thank you for inviting me onto your program. I'm really grateful. A bit about myself. I think you've done a chunk of the introduction, but I'll kind of double back a bit. I'm a lawyer, and I'll say that I've enjoyed a career in law, which has been, if I may say so myself, exciting, very exciting. I was called to the Nigerian bar in 1985. Before then, I went to school in Lagos. I was at King's College, Lagos, for my O-levels. Before then, most of my primary school was in Ibadan, where I lived with my mother. At the time, my father lived in Benin, and I spent my holidays with my father in Benin. After King's College, I went to international school in Ibadan for my A-levels. Then I went to the University of Ibadan to study economics. I left after I graduated in economics. I went to the UK to study law at the London School of Economics. And then I came back to Nigeria to go to the law school, youth corps. And then I started life working with the law firm of Chris Ogumbanjo and Co. Chief Ogumbanjo, my boss, died sadly at the age of 99. He was nearly 100 in October. He was a great boss. And I learned so much from him. I worked with him for 6 years. And after, I then started my own law firm with a friend of mine, another lawyer, Femi Banwo, and we started the firm Banwo and Ighodalo in February 1991. We started empty, no clients, nothing, empty table, only newspapers to read. By the grace of God, 33 years after, we've managed to truly build a first-class institution, one of the top firms in the country and in Africa, 15 partners, nearly 120 lawyers. We do a lot of corporate work, project finance, corporate finance, oil and gas, mergers and acquisition, capital markets, capital raising, international capital raising, arbitration and dispute resolution and litigation, intellectual property, estates, and real estate. And I think we've built a strong and resilient team of true professionals. In the course of my work, I was also exposed to corporates and persons who thought me worthy and fit to sit on their boards at different times. And that's another area of great experience and expertise. I sat on the board of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, Okomo Oil, Cardinal Stone, became chairman of Nigerian Breweries, the Heineken subsidiary in Nigeria, Sterling Bank, Levin Oil. I was chairman Dangote Flour Mills before we divested. And I sat on the board of a number of NGOs, including the Christopher Collade Foundation, Fate Foundation, and a number of other institutions. So I've had a diversified experience and exposure. So I'm married. My wife is an entrepreneur. She manufactures furniture, and apart from manufacturing furniture, she does interior design work. My daughter, I have one daughter. My daughter is a serial entrepreneur too. And she works with her mom at the moment, but she also makes cosmetics, she makes wigs and things like that. So that's me in a nutshell. In my spare time, what do? I like watching football. I watch Nigerian football. I watch international football. I read. I try to read. I engage in political discourse. I like hanging out with my friends. I don't have enough time to do that these days, and I miss it. And I apologize to many of my friends who miss me too. I play golf. And I also watch sports. I like sports generally. I like watching sports. So that's me.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Asue Ighodalo. Thank you for coming to our platform today. Like Elvis Edigi said earlier, I have to sort of I'm a backup for him because of the attack, unnecessary attack we normally have here from those who feel that our objectivity is second to none. So as you can see, probably when they hear that you are coming, I don't know why it is so profound today. So it's so unfortunate. This is We usually have it intermittently, but for today it's quite profound that I don't know why. But be that as it may, it can never change our objectivity. We are very objective here. As you know,
That's quite unfortunate actually that we're having these attacks.
exactly,
And
yeah, to be honest with you.
and I'm really so sorry that on account of
Well,
me, you guys are getting this kind of
well,
attacks. I'm so
they can break our resolve. The issue is Edo State comes first. That is the issue. So whatever it is we suffer individually, it does not matter. Edo State comes first. So as you can see, we know what the season is today. I mean, now in Edo State, people are waiting to see who will be the next governor of Edo State. Of course, you are aware you're a candidate now of the PDP, so we congratulate you for being the flag bearer of People's Democratic Party. It's a no mean feat. We are happy. We congratulate you for that. Now you have to go a step further, and that step further is now you are no longer competing with your colleagues in the PDP. You are now competing with other candidates from other parties. So what the conversation we want to have today is for us to sort of to exchange ideas. We float the question and then just for you to know what you think about some of the questions that may be coming to you. We just want to see and say, well, since you are before people will cast their vote and make up their mind if they haven't made up. So we like to have a conversation. We call it a conversation. It's not like where you have to subject somebody to no a barrage of attack. We don't want it. I assure you, the questions we are going to raise today, we satisfy one condition: public interest. It will be in the interest of the good people of Edo State that we help to move the state forward. That is the overriding purpose of what we are going to do today. We have, just like the way you have Edo State interest in your mind, that is also the way any question coming to you is to help the people of Edo State, both those in the diaspora and those at home. I'm fielding this question. I'm backing this up from the UK. Now, before Niger Watch comes in, to set the ball rolling, I need not inform you that the job which you are gunning for is a job that comes with a timeline. That is 4 years. Hopefully, in the first instance, if you decide to go for a second term, if you are likely to be elected, then you have to also be subjected to different interviews. So in this case, because it's a job that comes with a timeline 4 years, I would like to put this question across. As an indigenous of Edo State, I would like you, for the interest of Edo people, the good people of Edo State, both those at home and in the diaspora, I want you It's a question that is in three parts, A, B, and C. The A part of the question is, I would like you to name one major problem that is facing Edo State as at today, 17th of April, 2024. The B part of the question is, what strategy would you like to explain to us how you are going to surmount or solve this problem? The C part of the question is, why do you think you are the best qualified person to solve this particular problem you've named?
Thank you. Let
Thank
him
you.
answer that so that we
Yes,
can
like that
come in
one.
with the
Welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
I'm sorry, I had a
Dr.
bump
Asue, please
you.
forgive me.
Anyway, thank you very much. And it's a good idea that you have this backup, so that we can have continuous transmission. Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, you asked me to name one major problem. There are a number of problems, but one major problem, which I've always emphasized and I'll continue to emphasize. And that's our problem of security. For me, security is on the line in the sense that in any environment, any economic or social environment that's devoid of effective security, then there's a major issue as regards people's trust for that environment. People don't feel safe being there. People don't feel safe investing there. People are worried. People don't even visit. So it undermines the whole economic potentiality of that environment. So for me, it's critical that before we start doing anything else and layering things on anything else, we must do everything possible to make Edo State a safe haven for everybody that travels through there, that resides there, or just passes by. So that's fundamental. And then I know that once we have our security well in place, then all of the other plans we have, all of the other objectives, all of the other targets that we have can then be better and more effectively achieved. Strategy to tackle the problem. Today, there's security structure within the country, but I think we need to do a bit more in Edo State and in the country as a whole, because the security situation is not peculiar to Edo State. The security situation is a nationwide problem. But my concern is, how do I ensure I make Edo State safe so that we can do the things necessary to move Edo State into a first world status from the third world status we're in today? That's my major concern. And I'm hoping that whatever we devise in Edo State can then be replicated in other places and then the country as a whole. So there are many strategies I would look at, but fundamentally, we would need to find the capital and the finances to ensure that we support our security forces, to put in place best-in-class technology to enforce security and ensure security in the state. We will look at our architecture, and we will find the best minds and the best security architects available in the country, and they will work with the security structure that we have in place constitutionally. I notice with plenty of happiness that the reconsideration of state police is coming up, because I believe all crime is local. You start from the local base to know who's not supposed to be there, who's not fit for purpose, who has criminal tendencies and things like that. And so we must find a way to infuse local policing into the policing and security structure that we have today. So we will work with the different security agencies. We will work with technology. We'll work with all the best minds available to ensure that we tackle the security problem in Edo State head on and ensure that our people are safe, property is safe, life is safe, people can move at any time of the day or night in the state, people feel secure investing in the state, people feel most secure living in the state and leaving their loved ones in the state. So for me, that is a primary objective. And I will spend my every waking moment to ensure that we put this in place. And why am I best qualified is something I've been thinking about. It's something I've been spending all my time thinking about as it regards, if we want to move Edo State into the first world, what is that first thing we must do? We must make sure that we're a secure and safe state. And I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to different security experts, I've been talking to, and I've been reading up about it. I've been looking into technology and this kind of technology that we can apply. I don't believe that in 2024, with the way the world is today and with the technology available to us, that the security problems we have are insurmountable. They're not. They're problems that can be dealt with. We just need to focus and apply the right kind of mechanics to dealing with the issues. So I'm fairly confident that if we work hard on this, doing the right things at the right time, that we will prevail over the security issues and security problems we have. But we must deal with those problems. If we don't deal with those problems, everything else we want to do will not work as effectively and as well as it should. And then the benefits and the value add that we should get, we won't get.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Asue. Like I said before, it's a struggle. I'm surprised they are doing this to me today, but I'm still going to pass my questions. Although some of my callers, you guys might be affected, in case you want to call in. I don't know. You can see what is happening right now. It's not retentional. But let me quickly ask you this question, Dr. Asue. What strategies do you have in place to ensure transparency, accountability, and good governance in your administration? And how do you plan to involve the citizens of Edo State, both within and outside the country, in decision making?
Thank you. The first thing is that you must hold yourself accountable. And to hold yourself accountable, you must be accessible. The people that you're working with, that you are governing, must be able to tell you their pain points. And you must be able to identify their pain points, not what you think are their pain points. So for me, transparency and accountability, the first step is to be accessible, to be open to constructive criticism, to be open to exchange of ideas, to be able to explain properly to people why you're doing certain things and understand why they want certain things done. So we'll be transparent. Everything we'll do, we will communicate and we'll publish. There'll be nothing hidden. We will answer all questions that people ask of us. Our accounts will be available, the state accounts will be available, and will be audited and will be available, and we make the necessary constitutional presentations to the State Assembly. So there won't be anything that will be hidden. I've lived my life, particularly in my corporate life, being open to investor analyst questioning from all over the world, asking tough questions. So that's the life I've lived. So why should it change now? There's no reason for it to change. So I'll be available to take any questioning, any issues on the government. The government will be an open book. Information will be available to everybody, and will be as transparent as we need to be.
All right.
And one other thing. Let me even complete the other leg of answering that question. Because we need to heighten our revenue profile, and we may need to raise levels of capital, it's important that we run a transparent government. My experience in the private sector has taught me that the companies that are better able to access cheap capital are companies that are run transparently and effectively in a focused way with integrity. And if we run government the same way, it will be easy for us to attract the kind of cheap capital that would enable us invest in the infrastructure that we require to move the state to the next level. So for me, it's something I've done all my life anyway. So it's not something that I'll change today for any reason.
Okay, sir, I would like to, because before I will go to the public to start passing on the question, let me ask you a personal question again. I would like to know, how do you plan to foster unity and inclusivity among the diverse ethnic, social, cultural group within the Edo State? And what step will you take to ensure equitable representation and participation for all residents, both home and in abroad?
Thank you. Great question. One of the things we must do is that we must have a government that everybody trusts. We must create a trust quotient that's very high, so that people are not second guessing your ideas, your intentions, and people are not thinking that they're being done for reasons other than the right, that they're being done for reasons of the ulterior. So we will get full participation. We get everybody's ideas in. I've been talking to a number of diasporans, and one of the things I keep telling them is that we require their full participation in our governance in our state. We require their support. We require the sources to resources and manpower and technology. Those experiences that they've garnered from abroad, please, can you bring some of it back in here to help us move at a faster rate? We will be inclusive. I was talking to those handicapped people with disability a few days ago, and they will also, because they must also form part of the government, they will be inclusive. We will talk to them. We will find out from them what they want done in what way. So we will include the women, youths are going to be a platform and fulcrum of the government. The important thing is to be accessible, and the important thing is to form an inclusive government where you have people of all shades and all types and all divides being involved, and all kinds of ideas. My experience also within my party in the last few months, we have been engaging with different aspects and different shades of opinion within the party, also has shown that by God's grace, when we get into governance, we will be ready to also be able to engage and include and talk to and negotiate with and bring everybody on board. We need every shade on board. We need all our best hands to move our state from where we are into where I know we can be. That's being a first world state. So for me, that's a no-brainer, honestly. You will pick the best from wherever once they're able to deliver those state indigents, whatever experiences they have, whether from the rural areas, from the urban areas, from other parts of Nigeria, from anywhere in the world. We bring the best talents in. I was talking to a doctor 3 days ago. She lives in Dallas. And I said, ma'am, thank you for always your talent. You've gone on a mission to Imo and Abia State. We want you to start running these missions in Edo State. You're an Edo citizen, you continue doing what you're doing in the other parts of Nigeria. But I want you to do more in Edo State. Teach our professionals here. Bring succor to those of our people that are afflicted. Run these missions in different parts. Help our people that are sick. And she laughed and she said, yes, she will do a lot more of this. And we can get a lot more of our Edo doctors in the diaspora, Edo engineers, in different aspects where they have expertise to come and help train, upskill our people. So we create a core of employables so that when we bring in new investments, new manufacturers, they're better able to fit into those entities without those entities seeking expertise or seeking employees from outside our catchment area. So I'm looking forward to the challenge and I'm pretty excited about it.
I like that. You're looking forward to the challenge. Okay. Sir, you're aware that although on this platform, I personally call it three-horse race, although Labour Party shocked the whole Nigeria the last time in 2023 general election. But this time around, I would like to stick with that for now. Three-horse race, PDP, APC, and Labour Party right now in Edo State. I want to know what specific policy or initiative do you plan to implement if elected as governor of Edo State? And how do you envision them addressing the current challenges that we all are already facing?
Thank you very much. It can't be one specific. There are multiple and myriads of policies that we must put in place that must come back and align and work together to move us from where we are to where we want to be. And, let me just give you kind of a broad overview of the kind of thinking I have with my team. We're looking like a four-pillar kind of socio-economic structure that we want to bring into the state. We've already talked about security. There's going to be social welfare, governance, and prosperity. The prosperity bucket will be the economics. We'll be looking at the agro-business, we'll be looking at creative, sports, tourism, manufacturing, digital. So we'll then layer all of that with infrastructure required to put in place all of those pillars. So it can't be one policy. It's going to be a series of policies intertwined, aligned, and working together. We may need to prioritize depending on revenue and capital sources at the time. So we will prioritize. And if we're going to prioritize, like I said, security will come. Basic, security will be the first thing. And in that process also, I will be thinking, how do I enhance the capital base and the revenue generation capabilities of the state? Where do we find the resources to put in place the infrastructure that we require to move the state at the fastest rate possible? So those things will work hand in hand together. So when we are able to then get to that point, we will then be looking at things like our light situation. We'll be looking at things like road situation. How do we put money in the hands of those who are really, really, truly poor? How do we kind of regenerate trade within the state? What about our agriculture? What grows best where? Where do we have comparative advantage? We are thinking that we would probably have 3 economic zones in the state, 1 zone per senatorial district, and we'll have an agency so that what is best deployed, what resources are best deployed to achieve the best in those areas, what do we have comparative advantage for in those areas, and then we'll start a cross-the-board development of the state. And then there are many things that are on ground now that we'll also re-emphasize and work on. One of my pet projects is that I think about from this government is the Benin port. And I know the impact that the Benin port will have on the economy of Edo State if duly and fully and effectively completed. There's also something that I am really, really gung-ho about, and I started talking about it. And from when I started talking about it, I noticed everybody's jumping on board. And that's the Benin Auchi Road. It goes through about 8 to 9 local governments. It opens up agricultural bases, agricultural sources, route to market, transportation, manufacturing, supplier logistic chains that are incredible. And I know that the impact of that road on our state would grow our state by at least 3 to 4% GDP. So for me, at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to play politics with it. I have a serious idea of how we can build that road. Now, what I want is for the road to be built. So whoever builds it, if they say today is a federal government road, please, federal government, come and build it. If you can't build it, please leave it for us, let's build it. But then it changes the impact of what's happening in our state. So there are many things. So like I said, it's not one. We must do a multiplicity of things jointly together at the same time to ensure that we're moving the state forward at the rate at which it should move.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And although, because you mentioned security, because insecurity is a big problem in Edo State right now. Although it's getting better.
It's not peculiar to Edo State. And I think the security situation in Edo State is much improved. Much improved. Okay. All I'm just saying is that we need to get it to the zero tolerance level. Zero tolerance level doesn't mean that there won't be incidences, but it means that those incidences will be few and far between, and not the kind of incidences that scares away investors, tourists, and the people we need to develop our economy.
Okay, this is a straight question. As a youth, I'm a youth. I'm privileged that I live in the United Kingdom, but I understand what is happening to our youth in Edo State. Cultism. Cultism is one of the biggest problems that we are facing in Edo State. That has been going on for decades. Every government that comes to power have promised to do something about it. They're not been able to do anything about it. So I want to ask you, sir, what are you going to do about cultism? Edo State, people reference to Edo State when it comes to killing each other's for nothing. I want you to help us. What are you going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's something I've thought about quite a bit. And we're going to have a strategy in the short term, medium term, and long term. In the short term, there needs to be a lot more engagement. We need to be able to engage with the sources of cultism behavior, that abhorrent behavior. So I am going to identify those sources, and I'm going to hold myself out to start a formal engagement, because they must understand the impact and the thinking that this causes for our social and investment life. I'm also a lawyer, and I'm strong on the rule of law. My first step will be these deep engagement processes. But if these deep engagement processes don't work, then people must be made to face the law where they behave in a way that infringes our laws. And that also will be something that I will take very seriously. But it's something we must deal with. And it will be, again, like I approach most problems, it's not one way only. There'll be multiplicity of engagement points. But for me, in the long term, which I think is the lasting one, which I think is the critical one. For me, long term, we must go to the home values. You know, parents, fathers, and mothers, we must teach our children right and wrong. We must ensure that we're telling our children what we must do, integrity, values. We must bring up, you know, when I was in school and we're in school, if you offend in the school and you get caned, and your parents knew, you get caned at home too. You know, period. You know, you were brought up by the village. Our neighbors, you know, my neighbor, who I called auntie, could cane me if she noticed I was doing something wrong. She could punish me, stand in the corner, put up your hand. And my parents would repeat the punishment when they came. So the whole village trained the child, and you grew up responsible. You grew up having strong values. You grew up determining right from wrong. If then you decide that you choose to do wrong, then you know there are consequences that you must manage, and you must live with those consequences. So I think we need to go back home. Parents, I know parents, because of economic circumstances, spend less time with kids, but they must let those times count. They must be quality times. You must engage your kids. You must understand how they think. You must help them think properly, help them think on the straight and narrow. They are exposed to a lot more things in the world, social media and all of that. But there's a lot of good in social media, but help counter the not so good of social media. That's the important thing. I think if the home values are strong, as we grow up and leave home, those values stay with us, and it helps us determine right and wrong. And less of us would then be engaged in these things like cultism, bad behavior, kidnapping, and things like that. That's a long-term solution. But in the short term, we'll face it squarely. Okay. We will engage with the points, because these cultists are known persons and known organizations. We'll engage with them at their point. And if then people still persist, then the rule of law kicks in.
Wonderful. My last question before I come to the public, because I know a lot of them are waiting already. Dr. Asue Ighodalo, I would like to know.
Elvis, just a second, so that I'm clear. How much time do we have? Because I have a next appointment.
You tell us how much time do you want to have with us?
I know we said down 1 hour. I'll put in a bit more time so I can stay on till about 10:15.
That's fine.
Because my next appointment is actually 10:15, but I'll move that by about 15 minutes. Because I thought we would do 9.
That's brilliant.
Okay. Thank you.
My last question is that I just want to know, what is your position with the BTC, Benin Traditional Council?
My position with them?
Yes, your position, if elected.
Do you know that, okay, maybe you don't know, let me tell you, I'm a child of the palace myself. The Oni of Ife is my cousin on my mother's side. My grandmother grew in the palace of the Noji of Iwohimi. So I'm a child of the palace. So I'm a child of the traditional council. I believe that our leaders, our traditional leaders, have a fundamental place. And I think it's a constitutional mishap that they're not recognized in the Constitution specifically. They have a traditional hold. They have their leadership functions in our communities. They have their dispute resolution functions. They have the value functions. And even critically, and I'm looking at it from an economic perspective, they're a great tourism function. So we must move side by side with our traditional councils and our traditional leaders. We must take from them and learn from them. They're the repository of our culture, and our culture is strong. And our culture is what sets us apart from others. So for me, honestly, I bow to our traditional institutions. I'm a child of tradition. And so that's what it is.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you. Because of time now, I need to work with it. Let me quickly come to the panelists. I'm going to start with the first person on the panel, Teobala. Teobala, please, you have only one question because we are going to work with time. Everybody's, because I thought it's going to be two questions. It's going to be just one. Teobala, go ahead with your question. Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Asue Ighodalo.
Thank you very much. Hi, how are you?
fine. Yeah. I'm on the aspect of human capital development. That is where my question is going to come out from. And you may have seen some major development that have happened in those states, the data power, modular refinery, and many others. Now, how do you intend to continue that legacy for a better one? And those that are not good, how do you intend to leave those ones? And again, what is your plan towards what's it called? The electricity plan and internet, because this is what we need for human capital development. What's your plan for internet and lights?
Thank you very much. Very quickly, that's easy. What brought those companies into Edo State, Logo, Kobaha, and all of that areas, and all the new investment zones that we have in Edo State? There was an enabling environment. There was something that attracted them to Edo State. So that enabling environment that has been created that attracted those industries, I will ensure we maintain and improve of the enabling environment. Most of those companies are around the gas pipeline. So we know that gas is critical to the manufacturing sector and the industrial sector. So we'll ensure that the gas availability will still remain strong. So those things, and then you go to the OVS side and you have the palm refinery and rubber. I think most definitely those things that have been properly done, we will still do them, and then we'll do them better. I used to be on the board until we sold the company, Main One. If you know of Main One, the subsea cable company, the first subsea cable company that was brought into this company by private investors. I was one of the 3 entrepreneurs that established Main One and brought it into this country. And Main One in distributing cables through soil cables through as part of the work we were doing to establish connectivity. And digital penetration. We came into Edo State and started the work of laying fiber optic cables. And I think Edo State is probably, maybe after Lagos State, the second state to have the most fiber optic connection and cable laying all over the state. And I think that has opened up the state to major digital penetration. And people can stay in their villages and access anywhere in the world on their laptops, on their phones, and things like that. And so, yes, we are creating a state that's the first world state in communication, in tele-penetration, and in the other day, I think it was last week, the governor, I saw it, I think in the news, that there's a telemedicine. He had gone to commission a telemedicine operation, I think in Iraq, one of the hospitals in Iraq. So that's the kind of power of technology that we're seeing. So we will continue along those lines. My experience with Main One will also serve to help me in supporting the state in this area. My connection as a lawyer for a lot of the telecoms companies will also serve to support in this area. But we need to open up the state. We need to have our youth sitting down in their houses in Agenebode and being able to work anywhere in the world. That's the kind of economy we want to create.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. I watched one of your videos this afternoon. I was very impressed how you were taking comments from people on social media and all that. So when you talk about technology, I think, yeah, I like that, that aspect. But let me quickly move on to Black Panther. Black Panther, please, anybody that I call in, if you can turn on your camera, please do that and tell Dr. Aswe.
Is Black Panther a person? I don't get that. You need to. What is Black Panther?
I am a person, and I have a very strong background in the fight for the emancipation of the Black man all over Africa, and we are going to start from Edo State.
Nice to meet
our
you.
Beloved state.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, go ahead with your question, sir, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Ighodalo. God bless you, sir. My question goes directly. You made mention of a lot of capital intensive project you want to embark on, and there are free trade zone, economic trade zone, Benin Port, and the Auchi Road, which is a government road. And these are all high capital intensive projects. And definitely you are going to borrow more, because from the DMO that I'm watching, right, that I followed all throughout last year down to 2014, states rightly that those states in internal debt, Edo State currently is owing over 116 billion naira. And external debt, which is in the dollar, we have increased by $75 million accruing it up to $258 million. Now, are you going to borrow more to increase the Edo State debt, juxtaposing it with what you just said about the free trade zone, which a lot of states have, but it hasn't, they built it, and if you go there, like the one you have in either Abia or Anambra State, there's no yield back, there's no yielding in terms of capital. They are not yielding anything. And I want to ask you now, are you going to borrow to increase the debt of the Edo people, coming from 12th position to number 4 position in Nigeria, according to DMO?
Thank you, Black Panther.
Black Panther, thank you very much for your question, and it's a great question. I'll look at it from a number of areas. Number one, the full fiscal picture of the state, I don't have it. I'm not in government. I'm not part of government. But hopeful, if by when we win the election in September, we have at least 2 months, 6 weeks to get state information. I can't get state information now. I'm not a state official. I can only guess and look at what is in the public domain. But what I can tell you for free, and if you look at developments of countries specifically, no country develops on its own steam without help and without capital infusion, whichever way that capital comes, either by way of direct investment or by way of borrowing or by way of grants or by way, and in the world now, the way the world is structured now, there are different ways in which capital can flow. There's green finance, there's public-private partnership, there are different kind of bond structures. I spent all my life as a lawyer raising money for corporates. If I can raise money for corporates, I should be able to find where I can raise money for my state. So there are 2 things here that I want to emphasize, and people need to know those 2 things. Number one, if you run, and we spoke about this earlier, if you run a transparent, accountable, and well-governed environment and government, then people will trust you with their money. And you can then pick and choose the kind of money you want to access. What people want to know is that whatever money you get, you will use it for what you say you will use it for. And whatever you're using it for must have a multiplier effect on the development of your economy. If people understand that and trust that, then you get cheap finance. The world has over $30 trillion of money that's sitting idle, earning nothing. And that kind of money is ready, or parts of it, even if it's 0.0% of that money, can flow to you if there's trust. So that we must hold in one hand. Okay. The second thing that we must hold on to is this. You know, people talk about borrowing as if it is a bad thing. Borrowing by itself is necessary and required, especially where you have resources that are not adequate for the things you must do, and especially when you're in a hurry. But you must borrow in a disciplined way. You must negotiate the terms of your borrowing and get the best and lowest rates possible. And you're able to get that if people trust you. They know you'll pay back. So the risk attached to the borrowing is low. But most importantly, you are going to use the money for what you say you're going to use it for. It must be for capital projects that are earning and generating, so that what you borrowed the money for, when you use it effectively for that project repays. The problem we've been having in Nigeria is that we've been borrowing not for capital projects. We've been borrowing for current and other non-essential, non-important, non-revenue generating projects. That's where the problem is. So the important thing is, if you're borrowing, you use it well. I believe that when I look at the fiscal structure of this state, because the state is meeting its obligations, so that suggests to me that whatever the state has borrowed, the state is using it well. And I'll give you an example. In the history of this state, the last 7 years is where not 1 month's salary has been missed, where pensioners are paid. Our governor even went as far as paying 13th month at Christmas. So that means he had the liquidity to do those things after meeting obligations, that he had liquidity. So that means that there's fiscal stability in the management of our resources. So that's why I'm not worried about whatever figures anybody is throwing around as the debt profile of the state.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Asue. Because of time, because I need to get to a lot of people, let me quickly come to, please, if you are ready to turn on your camera, I'll call you. You know, that's what we are doing here now. Let me go to Oga Chris. Oga Chris, do you want to turn on your camera? Okay, Oga Chris, you are not available right now. Mr. Collins, please go ahead. Okay, Oga Chris, you are available. Unmute yourself. Go ahead with your question, sir, quickly.
And good evening, Mr. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody on the panel. Just to make this sharp and snappy, sir, there's no doubt that you have the CV, and you can do the job. You have the CV and everything. But, sir, we've heard all these campaigns, all these promises before. Not today. We've been hearing them since 1999. So mine is not really questioned. It's not really about capacity now, because we know that a lot of Nigerian leaders, they have the capacity to actually do the proper thing. But mine is a commitment from you. The thing is that, do you have the willpower to do what you have promised to do? Now, my question is this. Number one, if you get to power, are you going to make a commitment that you will not complain about the debt burden? Number one. Then number two, if it comes to security, are you going to commit to us? Because we are all listening to you now. When it comes to security, are you going to say that, oh, because it is the federal controls the security apparatus and you are not able to do certain things, but if it comes to using the security apparatus to your own advantage, you can use them. But if it's time to use it for the people, it is complained that the federal has the power over the security apparatus. And the last one, sir, are you going to introduce history back to the education system of our school? Because they said to distort history is to falsify record, is to distort history.
Okay, let me add one person to it, sir. Dr. Asue, let me add one person to it so that you can take both of them together. Let me, Mr. Prince, are you there, Prince Collins?
Yes, I think.
Unmute yourself, sir, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You have 1 minute. Go straight to the point. Your question, sir.
Dr. Asue Ighodalo, Obusha, I want to appreciate you. I want to say Oburu, Obatokwe. What I really appreciate about you, I'm not going to ask you a question that will prolong your time. I just want to say a few things in 2-3 minutes, and that will be all. What I'm going to ask you is,
you have 1 minute.
Is your eloquence. You know, what I want to ask is how you're going to, emphasize on the area of agriculture to make sure that food production is enhanced in Edo, because I noticed in our state that a lot of people are hungry, and as a result of that, many of them are into crime. They are into crime that is controllable. So in the area of agriculture, how are you going to make sure that these things are done properly while you look at light and road as a priority? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another great question. But let me quickly go back to Chris. Please, let me assure you that good people of Edo State, by the grace of God, when they elect me as their governor, they're electing me to solve problems. They're not electing me to complain and to moan. If they wanted someone to complain and to moan, then maybe they'll elect somebody else. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm elected to solve problems. I don't believe in going back and saying that somebody else created a myriad of problems. And so that's why we're still in problems. So we're going to sit down, and I'm going to, by God's grace, create the best team possible to solve the problems of the state. And we'll start the work of solving the problems. So wherever there are problems, we'll solve the problems. You specifically mentioned borrowing. Like I said, I'm not too worried about the fiscal structure of the state, because I see signs. When there's insolvency and problem, you will see signs. You won't be able to meet your obligations, you won't be able to pay salaries, you won't be able to do things. When you can meet your day-to-day obligations, that means there's liquidity. And so whatever fiscal hanging the fiscal hanging that you have is something that's manageable. So I'm not concerned, I'm not too worried about that, But again, the good people of Edo State will elect me to solve problems. And that's the work I have to do. If there were no problems, they wouldn't elect me. So I promise you won't hear me moaning about anybody. I won't moan about anything or about anybody, and I will focus on my work. Again, I'm not going to be complaining about the federal government. I'm a lawyer. and I've studied our constitution very effectively. There are things that are delegated to the federal government on our list, constitutional lists. There are things that are delegated to the state. There are the powers that the state have, and those powers are quite clear. And we will look at, within the ambit of our constitutional provisions, those things we must do. There are ingenious and creative ways in which we can do much more than people think we can do under the Constitution, effectively, legally, and we will do it. And the Constitution is opening up. See, recently in the power sector, states can now do much more as regards providing power for their people. And so, and it's like that in any other sector. And one of the things that I have seen, even in the exclusive list, you know, there are things you can do, like in the port concession structure that we have for the Benin port. There's a lot of federal government involvement. The federal government has to give concession, MPA has to participate. What the state did, it was the sponsor and coordinator, but they then pushed and worked with the federal government to get things done. And under our laws, you know, if you know how to structure and create and you're strategic, you can even work under this constitution to get a lot more to your state, you know. So the thing is the level of thinking that leadership is prepared to do. Many people don't do the thinking and they then throw their hands up. So I'm not worried about all of that. I think that what we seek to achieve for the state, regardless of the constitutional provisions, we can achieve by working collaboratively and thinking strategically. So again, my brother, we will do well by God's grace. We will do our best and we'll do well.
Thank you.
Agriculture is the underpinning of our manufacturing process. It's the underpinning of our economy. Edo State probably, if you look at the IFDC reports, Edo State probably in Nigeria has the best soil structure. What we need to do is know what's in every part of the state, and that's why I was talking to you about having economic development agencies for the 3 senatorial zones in the state. What is best planted where in the state for the different soil types that we have? What kind of support do the soil types require? What kind of fertilizer support and other support do the soil types require? The things that are best planted, how do we with research institutes ensure that we create and we get the best seedling possible that produces at the fastest rate possible so that productivity per hectare is enhanced? You know, those are the things we need to think about and we're going to work on and we're going to do things. And the manufacturing industry develops because of excess agricultural production. And so we also need to find route to markets. We need to create the markets. We need to ensure our farmers move away from subsistence and we help them move into serious mechanized farming with state support. So those are the things we must do. And it's from an agriculture base that will empower our rural areas and rural environments, will empower manufacturing, we empower exports. You know, I love some of the things that's happening in Edo State. If you look through at our palm and at our rubber, Nigeria is now, from the efforts and what's happening in Edo State, regaining its pride of place as one of the leading export countries for palm and for rubber in the world. And we need to do that for cocoa, you know. So from the agricultural perspective, we are spot on. That is where we're going to jumpstart the economy of the state. And we have to work at it in a deliberate fashion, in a consistent and deliberate fashion, using all at our disposal. Okay? So thank you for that question. Let me go to I think that there was one more question. I think did I miss out any question?
No, history. The question on history.
Yes, that's close to my heart. You know, in my spare time, one of the things I love doing, when I was introducing myself, I didn't say that I teach contemporary political and economics history. I teach it. I've been teaching it in the last 15 years. Nigeria's political and contemporary history, 1886 to present day. I teach it to a group of young professionals, different, for instance, the NLI, the Nigerian Leadership Institute, the Kashim Imam Institute in Kaduna, and I teach, and I enjoy teaching it so much, and I kind of take our people through how we got to where we are as a country, and I engage with them. We look at different scenarios. If we've done this different at this point, what would have happened? Yes, we must teach history in school. I think those that took the decision at the time that history shouldn't be taught in schools did us a major disservice. I remember I started a project during COVID. I used to have a group of youngsters with my kids. They'll come for dinner, and I'll take them through the history of Nigeria and talk them through it. And you could just see their eyes opening up, and them understanding how certain things happen in the country and how certain things in the country are the way they are. If we don't know where we're coming from, we're not better prepared to go to where we should be going to. So I think we should go back. In Edo State, I think they've reintroduced history in Edo State as far as I know. But if they haven't, by the grace of God, when I go into governance, we definitely must do it. And we'll teach it at a different level. We'll intertwine history with culture. We'll intertwine history with economics. We'll intertwine history with social improvement and social growth. And we will bring it all together so that the child is thinking history, thinking civics, thinking how it will help enhance the state and ultimately enhance the country. So we can't run away from our history, but we need to learn our history so that we're strong for the future.
Thank you, Doctor. Because of time, I want to take two callers, just two. Then I'll come back to one more person on the panel or two. Madam Rita, thanks for calling in. Please go ahead. 1 minute, please. Go straight to the point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And good evening, Dr. Asue Ighodalo. My name is Rita. I'm calling from Canada. My first question is, you were two-term former chairman of NESG. So how do you plan to juxtapose your experience from being a former chairman in Edo State if you become governor? And then the second one is, with the performance of Governor Obaseki, whether it's good or bad, whatever opinion that you have about him, do you think that Governor Obaseki's performance will be an albatross to you being elected? And the third one is, if you become governor, are you going to follow what Alex Otti is doing, stopping pensions from previous governors? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Rita.
What was the third question, Alex Otti?
Yeah, the last one, pension. Yeah.
Stopping pension of former governors. Say if you become governor of Edo State, are you going to do what Alex Otti did in Abia by passing a legislation that will stop payment of pension to former governors?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah,
you want to take
the first question on NESG. Let me separate. I was chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. That's different from being a member of the Economic Summit of Edo State and being chairman of Alagodaro. But I think at the end of the day, they both all kind of max out to the same thing, helping government to look at policy reform and helping government to look at policy options and policy priorities. So, and I think my experience, both as chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, as a member of the Oshiomhole Economic Team, and as chairman of Alagodaro, stands me in good stead to be able to look at priorities in policy, policy formation, policy implementation, do's and don'ts. So I think those experiences give me an advantage over many other people who seek to go into governance. So we are moving from an advisory and an intellectual debate perspective and an advisory perspective to being the implementer of advice. And I think that's a great place to be in. So you've been on the side where you've been giving advice. Now you're on the side of how to effectively implement the advice. So I think it stands me in good stead, heads and shoulders above any other person anyway, that's in the race at the point in time. So I'll say that that works well for me. Present governor, the jury is out. I didn't elect. Okay, I voted, but I'm not. The electorate will determine the performance of the elected. At the end of the day, when the fat lady sings on the 12th of November, when Governor Obaseki steps down as being governor, history will judge him. The electorate will judge him. And I don't think it's in my place to judge him now, But what I can tell you from what I see in my advantage position is that I think he's done a lot of great things in the state. And those great things, I will identify them, I will work on them, and I will definitely, where they can be improved upon, improve on them. There's no person that is a complete person. We all have our negatives or our downsides or are not as strong, So
okay, the last one.
we'll work on the balances of the not as strong areas and see what we can do to ensure we improve that in the state. But I'm not. History will judge him. And for me, if I were going to hazard a guess, I will tell you that history will judge him very kindly. But that's not my place. That's for the electorate and for the people of Edo State to determine as the years go by. That's my thinking on that. And I think your last question was Alex Oti and what he did about governors. It's something I will look at, holistically. And for me, by God's grace, I don't think that I will require to take pension from the state after I leave government. By God's grace, I think I'm sufficiently blessed. But I will look at it holistically. I will see, the thing is that there's a pension scheme. What I think the complaint is that it's too much. The payment doesn't reflect 8 years service. So I can look at it from that perspective. But I don't want to say I will do A or B when I haven't had the opportunity to look at it, interrogate it, and investigate it. But I can speak for myself. I wouldn't take it. I don't require it, by God's grace. And I'm hopeful that nothing will make me over the next few years now require it. I hope my investments don't go belly up. So I am, but I will look at it holistically. Things that worry our people, that concern our people, that make our people unhappy, it's my duty to ensure I look at it and I work on it. Okay?
Let me take my last call. Mr. Alex, please talk to us. Please, you have only 1 minute. Good evening to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dawash. Yes, good evening, Mr. Dr. Asue Ighodalo. I want to say I'm worried. I'm very worried.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Yes, I'm worried because you are coming from a party that the present Edo State governor, for me, under the Buhari government, people were being kidnapped and raped nationwide. Some governors were fighting back, like Benue, Ondo, and Rivers State. But our dear governor was busy discussing Ruga and allegedly collecting money from Buhari. And the people were killed, kidnapped. We have evidence, video, and pictures. And you are coming from the same party, and you are a friend from my information to this guy for 40 years. And there's a saying that says, show me your friend, I will tell you who you are. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Okay.
Can I trust you with my vote? And I must say, I cannot really trust you with my vote.
Okay.
I want to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's pause for now. Unfortunately,
let me answer that question, because I think it's important to answer that question, because we have different shades of opinion. Yeah. And I can understand why people will be worried when they don't have all of the facts correctly. Let me say this. Governor Obaseki started off life in the same party as President Buhari, and is ending up his term in a different party. So different things. I think you have been a bit unfair to him when you talk about him participating in Ruga and all those things. I don't think so. I think Governor Obaseki has been one of the greatest advocates of strong security in the state. From where we were 7 years ago to where we are today, there's a major improvement. The security architecture in the state is stronger. It's not as good as it should be. And the security problem is a nationwide problem, which must actually be dealt with holistically. But if people are not dealing with it holistically, then we are not going to fold our hands and allow our people in Edo State to keep suffering. So we will devise our own architecture to deal with the problem. And I don't think you're being fair to him. But like I said again, people can defend themselves, and history will judge people as time goes on. So my brother, I don't think you are correct. And if you realize at the time, in fairness to the governor, because he was warning about the grave economic situation of the country and the mismanagement of the economy of the country. He was the first person to warn about the ways and means, the way ways and means and the printing of money was being used. He was the first person to raise alarm about a foreign exchange situation and inflation situation. I remember at that time, I was also the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and we're raising exactly the same issues. So I don't think people should be fair. I think people should be fair. And yes, I have known the governor for a long time. He's my friend. We were professionals. He was an investment banker. I was a lawyer in the corporate world. We were facing each other on transactions and things. We respect each other, but we're different people. We're not the same people. But we have values that are strong, and I have my values that are strong. So I think people should have an open mind, and people should be fair. And people should not allow things to be poured into their minds that are incorrect things.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So let me come to two people on the panel. I would like to start with give us a mandate, and then I'll come to Mr. Jonathan. Give us a mandate. Please unmute yourself. 1 minute. Pass your question, sir.
Thank you very much.
Give us a mandate. Give us a mandate. What's your real name now? You know my real name. Give us a mandate.
Okay, my name is Oluwatosin.
Oluwatosin, how are you?
Yeah. Good. How are you doing? Thank you very much for honoring the call. I actually sit here in Texas. I mean, you mentioned Dallas earlier. So my question to you, you've talked about the various things that you intend to do and all that. And then I think one person asked you a question. Now, as it stands today, based on the previous question, Governor Obaseki has done some projects, and then we saw some of them not properly aligning. Will you be able to look at the camera and tell the Edolite that, give them your word, who your loyalty is going to be to? And if you probably find projects that are not properly done, are you able to hold accountable the previous administrations for the things they didn't do properly?
Thank you very much. That's simple. Who has elected me into office? Who am I making promises to? The day I become governor of Edo State, I'm swearing an oath. My alignment, my allegiances, my loyalties are to the good people of Edo State. All my waking moments and my work time will be for the benefit of the good people of Edo State. I'm making a promise to the good people of Edo State that I want to move the state into first world status, or at least lay the foundation during my term. So there's no time to lose and there's no time to waste. So my allegiances and my promises and my commitment will be fully to the good people of Edo State. And I'll answer your question directly. If I run into any malfeasance or things that are not done the way they should be done, I will reverse them. I will make sure that whatever it is done for the good and for the benefit of the people of Edo State. I will not spend all my time looking back, because there's a lot of work to be done looking to the future. But those things that are back that will affect the future or are badly done will be effectively dealt with. And we will do what we think and what we know to be best for the people of Edo State. I know where you're going, which simply is this. Would my allegiance be to Obaseki? My allegiance is to the good people of Edo State. That's where my allegiance is.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jonathan, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Elvis. Dr. Asue.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for honoring this invitation. My name is Jonathan Kingsley. I'm participating on this program from Vancouver, Canada.
How cold is it in Vancouver today?
Actually, it is not cold at all. It's a wonderful weather.
Great. So you guys are getting into spring, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah.
Good.
So thank you very much once again. I'm very glad your response to the last question, because you set the stage. You talked about allegiance, and that your allegiance will be to the people of Edo State. So I believe also that you know the reason why you are running. You know the exact reason why you want to lead the people of Edo State, to be the governor of Edo State. So that being said, are you ready, or you are open to make commitment to the people of Edo State, to whom you will make allegiance to, that those that will work with you in your administration, that they will be competent people? It will not be trial by error, and it will not be appointment based on political payback. That people that you are appointing will not just be people that you are paying them back. Therefore, are you open to commit to the people of Edo State that those people that you will work with, especially your attorney general, your finance commissioner, your agri commissioner, you have talked a lot about agriculture. Are you ready to commit that these people, you will at least at the minimum, make them known to the people of Edo State during the campaign, at least these core people, so that the people of Edo State can vet them alongside you, that they are people of competency, they are people of character that will deliver alongside you with the people of Edo State. Thank you very much.
I wish I had a lot more time, because this is a great question that goes to the kernel of everything we've been talking about. And I'll say this, and please, moderator, give me time. I'm the one that said I needed to go, but I think I need to deal with this question.
Thank you.
You have to look at each person's antecedents. I started from scratch a law firm that has become one of the top law firms in Africa. And I couldn't have built that law firm to an extent where it's sustainable and I can stand up in December, giving them practically just 1 month's notice that I'm off to go and do politics. And I'm confident that the law firm sustained and is running. I even sometimes believe that since I left them in December, they're doing much better than when I was there, because the kind of bonuses and allowances they've been paying to me have been more than what I had when I was there. So that means they're doing something right. So you have to look at the history. I have worked with people, and that's my modus operandi. I've worked with people smarter than myself. When you work with people smarter than each of my 15 partners, Femi and I started the firm. I think the 13 others are smarter than Femi and I, period. We've worked with lawyers that are first in class. If you look at, IFLR, where the directory of lawyers, where they identify best in class lawyers, you will see that my firm has the highest number of best in class lawyers amongst Nigerian firms. So I've worked with people that are first in class, best in class. I did it in the corporate world. Any company in which I served on the board as chairman, and we had the opportunity to choose our executives and to choose management, we've picked the best possible. Nigerian Breweries, Sterling Bank, any Levin, any of those organizations. And it's there. The records are public for people to see, and the performance of those entities, regardless the vicissitudes of the Nigerian economy. So if I have done that in my private endeavor, if I come into the state, knowing the amount of work that needs to be done from where the state is to where we want to take the state to, knowing the capabilities that are required, I obviously, because I have a tradition, a habit, a history, a precedent of seeking the best, I will seek the best. So that's possibly why I may not be able to tell you that side by side, these are the people that are going to man this position. I probably can't, because until I'm getting to the point where I'm going to appoint, I'm still looking for the best all over the world. Any of those citizens, wherever they may be, who are ready to come to Benin to join me in this process, I will work with them. But we must balance that out with the political arrangement that we have. But that will not stop us from picking the best amongst and in and within and by the political arrangement that we have. We will balance everything in a way that creates an environment of peace, of platitude, and of good governance. So I assure you, and I give you my promise, and I give you my commitment that I will do my very best, and by God's grace, my very best will be good enough to do the things that are necessary to move Edo State to the next level. And do not be in any doubt whatsoever that it's going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. I'm going to spend all my waking moments, all my thinking moments to work with a team, and they are spending all their waking moments and all their thinking moments to move Edo State. I am devoted and committed to creating a governance structure and an economy that determines that our love for our people comes up. We must move our people from poverty. We must move our people from lack. We must move our people from unemployment. We must move our people from social non-inclusiveness to a height that suggests that we are a happy people, that suggests that we are a people that will continue to grow from glory to glory, from position to position, and become a truly first world environment and a first world economy, well serviced socially. That's the work we set for ourselves. So help us God. And we'll give it our very best. And you cannot do the best without using the best. It's not possible. Yes, somebody asked earlier, I don't know if it was you, about, we hear this every 4 years and all of that. True. I was in the market in Auchi a few weeks ago. Excuse me. And there was a lady, an old lady, that asked exactly the same question, that every 4 years, you people come and tell us the same thing. How do we believe you? Honestly, that's one of the most difficult questions to answer. But let me give you a pointer. If you look at what somebody has done before and how they did what they did before, it gives you an idea as to what they'll do going forward. Okay?
All right.
That's what I
Thank you,
can leave you with for now.
Thank you, Doctor. Please, we're supposed to be letting you go. We're supposed to let you go now, but please allow Mr. F. Emmanuel. Please,
Can
I'll
just take one more question, and I think I need to really run. You know, my bosses are telling me that I'm out of time.
Okay, sir. My question is so simple.
Just what, Madam Luke, 30 seconds. I'll leave to Niger out.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. I'm speaking from Texas, Dallas as well. I've heard all you said about your project, your plans for education. Can you hear me?
Yes, go straight to the point, please.
Okay. Yeah. Generally, SMEs are backbone of any healthy economy. I've not heard you say anything about small businesses in Edo State. As somebody who comes from the banking background, investment banking background, what are your plans towards small businesses in Edo State?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another great question.
Let me add this so that you can hang on both of them together. Madam Luke, please go ahead. Your question.
Hello, Dr. Ighodalo. Nice to meet you. My name is Ramosele. I have heard everything you said, and I am not going to ask you to say what you've already said. All I'm going to say is I pray that God will give you the fortitude to treat Edo people like your people. We've been disappointed many times, and I'm only going to say that may God touch your heart to do what you can do to help the Edo people get out of poverty. Thank you very much.
Amen. Ma, amen. Amen. You can keep praying for me, and I'll keep praying. I put myself forward to do this for this same reason, to help work and move my people from where they are into prosperity. I think part of the problem we've had over the years is that we've had good leadership and all that, but there must be love of and for the people. You know, if you love people the way you love your children, you don't want things for your children that are not good for them. And if your children are not in a good place, you do everything within your power to put them in a good place. So we must love our neighbor, we must love our people. We reflect that love, then that love gets reflected in performance. And the question on SME, thank you very much. You know, again, we're rushing. There are many things we could have talked about today. And I mentioned it in passing when I talked about the 4 pillars and our prosperity pillar, and part of what we're going to face in prosperity pillar. There's no economy that grows without small-scale business. Small-scale business is the engine. And if you look in Edo State, you find out that small-scale businesses, and I've interfaced with a lot of our young entrepreneurs and our young businesses, from people who are in food industry, who are in the beauty industry, from people in manufacturing, small-scale manufacturing, technology, digital, and then our guys in the creatives, you know, in all aspects of the creatives, in the movie production industry. So those are the guys that are going to think our economy, they're going to drive our economy. Many of them require a bit of help, maybe in skill of scaling, in skill and reskilling and retooling. Some require some financing. So those are the areas in which we can see we can support. And then we create an enabling environment. For instance, we have the Victor Waifo Hub here, which is a production and a creative environment, which helps a lot of our young ones, you know. So that's one thing the government has done. We have a movie production center in Edo State. People don't know. It's one of the best 2 movie production centers in Nigeria today. And that's helping a lot of our youths who know about it. And it has to be publicized a bit more, you know. So definitely we must encourage small and medium scale enterprises in the agro-business industry in every area, and we must support them. We must create an enabling business environment for them, because the small company of today that grows to be the major multinational of tomorrow. And it's the growth engendered by the small company that helps the multiplier effects of developing our gross domestic product and developing our economy. So those are the guys we need. We need guys from brass tacks growing to become one of the biggest companies in Africa, one of the biggest companies in the world. And that way, we are multiplying effect and developing growth in the state. My major task working with my team is, how do we move Edo State as a sub-national, as a state within a sovereign, to become a first world state, regardless where that sovereign is. It's a difficult task. And so that's the focus. But that's our determination. It's been done before. It's been done in Singapore. It's been done in India. It's been done in Australia. It's been done before, where the sub-sovereign supersedes the sovereign. And we can do it.
Okay, Dr. Asue, thank you very much. Because there's not enough time, we still have 2 left. But guys, you need to understand, I want to ask Dr. Asue now. Sir, if you request to bring you back again to Naija Watch, hope you will grant our request.
Yes, it's just to find the time. But I promise you, I'll try and make out time. I'll talk to my guys. We'll try and make out time. I've enjoyed being on your program. Honestly, I've enjoyed the questioning. I've enjoyed the reasoning. I've really enjoyed it. And I think I've been able to express myself and reach a wide audience. So it's good for me. So I'll look through it and I'll come back. I promise you. And then you have Elvis. I have a bias to you anyway. You know, you're my leader's son. You're my leader's son. So I have a bias towards you, being my leader's son. So
I never wanted to mention that, sir.
No, you're my leader's son.
I don't wanted you to know me as Elvis. That's why I was trying to cover that side of it.
You have exposed me, so let me expose you too. So you're my leader's son.
No, you should not.
Anyway, but seriously, we will. I'll definitely find time to come back. It may not be for a while because we're now getting to serious business of once they lift the ban on campaigning, we're going to go full blast into campaigning because we have to work hard to ensure that the people of Edo State understand what we're about, what we're bringing to the table, and our commitment and love for the state. And we must sell ourselves totally. As far as I am concerned, this is a project that it's no holds barred, and we must effectively put all the issues on the table and explain to the people of the state how we will deal with these issues, resolve these issues, and truly move us into a first world state as soon as possible. You know, so because of all of those commitments, but we'll work something out, I promise. Okay.
All right, my co-moderator has something to tell you before you go. Go ahead,
My own is a vote of thanks. I fear your co-moderator pass you.
That's right. Please don't fear me. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Asue Ighodalo. My vote of thanks is, my comment is made just like a vote of thanks. You know, like I promised you, the overriding interest here is public interest. All the questions you can see is about Edo State. Nothing is personal. We want Edo State to be number 1. It's as simple as that. It's all the interest we have for Edo. That's why we are here. In fact, whoever wins, Edo, both home and abroad, I assure you, we like to participate. Government will now be government of Ndibona or Hazurume. That is everybody's government. People will be available talent everywhere in Edo State, home and abroad. They are waiting for whoever the Edo people elects as governor. So if you are lucky to be elected, then you have a lot.
I'm going to take you up on that. So you've told me that talent won't be the issue. So I'm going to take you up on that because that's fun.
Yes, Edo people have talent all over the world. You know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I'm coming from is that they will be ready to come back home. I don't want people to tell me they have talent and they're in Dallas and they're not ready to come back home. Okay?
They will.
So I want that talent to come back home. So I want that you guys have been asking me for commitment all night. So I'm asking you for commitment too. So if I point at you and I say, you, sir, I need to help in this area, please give up everything. Give up everything the way other people have given up everything to help our state. Please be prepared to do so. Okay?
On one condition, transparency and accountability. We will do it.
I think that's what we'll be talking about.
Transparency, accountability. Okay.
That's what we'll be talking about all evening. And we're not far from it. We're not far from it. And that's what we'll be talking about all evening. Yeah. But I'm glad that you guys invited me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Asue.
I truly appreciate this. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you, sir. May God bless you. Have a
God
good
bless
evening.
you too. Have a wonderful evening. And I thank everybody that's in on the show, that's coming on the program. I thank you all wherever you are. God bless you and thank you very much. And have a wonderful afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Good night, sir. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Diaspora, my brothers and sisters in the comment section, You know, throughout the interview, I was singing one song in my head, "No more bad government, Ninja watch." I don't know, for some reason. I was just singing it in my head. The voice of the voiceless.